Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of Mastering the Basics. As you may know, the whole idea of doing this series is about education. For the most part, it's about education from my perspective. It's everything that I have learned. I have invested money in education to get into the real estate investing world. I had absolutely no clue about real estate investing prior to 2019, and I was a victim of some of the myths. So earlier on, I spoke in another video, I spoke about 2 myths. One of them is what we believe we have when we own our own property. We think we have an asset and we think that it's a good thing to pay it off because it's a good thing to get out of debt. And yes, that has many benefits, but it's not necessarily an asset, and this property is so capable of making you wealthier by using the money that it's contained within it. So I spoke about that. It's in part 1. I spoke about that in an earlier video as well. And then in that earlier video, I spoke that there was 2 myths. One of them is what I just spoke about, and the second one is the one where we believe, or at least I believed, that you needed a lot of money to invest in real estate. You had to be already rich. And I remember a long time ago wanting to get into the world, into this world, and I said, well, what should I do? And then I started looking up these programs. I ran into a few programs, and still back then, many years ago, probably about 5 years ago, still back then I said, oh wow, it seemed almost unreachable. And it turns out that now many of these people are my friends, and it's all because in reality we seek the people that we are, and we believe that we cannot reach them, but in reality it's who we are and who we're going to get along with. So we have to actually move faster towards those goals. We want to be wealthy people. Many of us want to be wealthy, and when I say wealthy, I'm talking about, yes, having a lot of money, it's good, but being happy and being healthy is part of what being wealthy is all about. And very importantly, for myself and for many people in this world, it's about getting back our time to do what we really want in life, to do what inspires us, and in turn, being able to inspire other people. So let's get to it directly. What's that second myth? That we really need a lot of money? No, we don't. We actually don't need any money at all. In fact, if we don't have any money to invest, or we think that we have no money to invest, that's a more important reason to get into this world as soon as possible. So how is it that I can get into this world of real estate investing? How is it that I can get properties and acquire properties and build generational wealth if I don't even have any money at all? Well, there's this thing in this world that I had no clue about until I started to get educated. It's called OPM. OPM. It's an acronym. In other words, when you take the first letter of a few words and create this industry type of term that nobody else understands, other people's money. OPM. And as you learn more and more and more, there are other acronyms that are available in the industry that everybody understands. They stand for other people's time, other people's credit, etc., etc. But let's keep it simple. Let's just talk about OPM, other people's money. If you're like me 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 3 years ago, you'd think, okay, well, how do you do this? Like, how do you acquire properties with other people's money? Well, it turns out that this is a regular thing in this industry. there are people who actually do not have time. They're very well educated in the real estate investing world, but they don't have the time because they're very happy at what they're doing. They have careers, they have already bought back their time and they're doing other things, and they don't want to dedicate themselves to the complexities of having to find properties, to being there on the ground, negotiating, building teams. It's intense. I can tell you from my own experience that you go out there and in some cases it ends up being a little bit frustrating because you have to deal with quantities, you have to deal with statistics, you have to go look for a property, look for another one and another one and another one and another one, and all of them have different problems here and there, so you have to move on to the next and to the next and to the next and negotiate and meet people and build teams and go to this market and to that market. It can get frustrating, it can get very intense, but a lot of us have that sense of urgency and are not willing to stop. So we keep going and we keep going. And somebody who has no time for this, but has the money to invest, is able to appreciate what the working partners, this is what they call the people who are out there that have the time, but have no money, the people that are out there doing the work, the people that have the money, but are also educated, they understand what the working partners have to go through. So they're willing to invest, they're willing to put the money, because we find deals. Like I'm able to do a little bit of both, but for the most part, I am a working partner myself. I understand those frustrations. Sometimes you even find a deal, you find something nice, and then you can't negotiate the right price and you have to walk away. So like I said, once you have this deal, the people who have the money, they want in because they know how hard it is to get that deal. And all of a sudden, they're also willing to give the working partner, the people who finance these projects, are willing to give equity, or in other words, part ownership in the deal, because they understand that there's such a thing as sweat equity. So the work that you do is very valuable. The people who finance these projects know that there's value in there, and they're willing to give you part of the deal. So you end up part owner of buildings. And as you continue doing this, you continue to be part owner of other buildings and more buildings and more buildings and more buildings. And in a few years, maybe 5 years, I would say 5 years at least, because we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but grossly underestimate what we can do in 5. In about 5 years, you look back and you've built some wealth already. So that's how you can get into this world with no money if you'd wanted to. If you do have money and you want to get into this world as well, it's very important to get educated, because it's important to understand the value that there is out there for the people who are finding the deals, but it's also important to understand how much you give in equity, how this whole structure works, how this whole thing works, where everybody is in a win-win situation. And believe me, it is a win-win situation for everybody. So this is the way it works. The best thing that the best advice that I could give to anyone watching this is to definitely get educated. Look for somebody who has been there for a while, who has some reputation in the industry, or a lot of reputation in the industry. I chose to invest in a few educational programs run by people with a very good reputation and with a lot of experience. And if you want to learn more about these programs, feel free to message me. And to that regard, I'm going to leave it at that for now. And every single thing that I'm speaking about, whether it's on part 1, part 2, and in the next parts to come, I believe we can dig in more and more detail. I have to be pretty open and transparent. This is the first time that I'm doing this kind of stuff where it's kind of educational. So I look forward to this series improving through the next months and years to come. Perhaps it gets even more complex and more valuable. So that's part of the goal. I am definitely very inspired to be able to have the opportunity to share this information with anyone who's interested. And it will make me so happy if anyone is able to build generational wealth by watching any of these videos. So once again, I'm going to leave it at that for now, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.